Chapter 1. The Beginning of Something Beautiful. Kendra hadn't been to Joe's bar in months, maybe even a year, but tonight, after a long shift at the gym, she felt like she owed herself a drink. Maybe two. Nothing too strong. Just something to smooth out the edges of a week that had worn her thin. The bar was dimly lit, just the way she liked it, with the glow from the neon signs reflecting off the polished wood counter. She slid onto a stool, nodding at Miss Gloria, the bartender who had been running Joe's since before Kendra could legally drink. "Look who finally decided to come see me," Miss Gloria teased, wiping a glass with a towel. "Where you been, girl?" "Working, raising a kid, trying to keep my sanity." Kendra sighed with a small smile. "You know, the usual." Miss Gloria smirked and set a cold beer in front of her. "First one's on me. You look like you need it." Before Kendra could thank her, the door swung open, letting in a burst of cool air and the scent of aftershave mixed with something like cedar wood. She didn't look up immediately, but when the stool next to her scraped against the floor, she glanced to the side. The man who had just sat down was big, not just tall, but solid, like he belonged in a football jersey instead of the navy blue security uniform he had on. His beard was neatly trimmed, and his deep brown eyes held the kind of exhaustion she recognized. Long days, hard work, the weight of responsibility. "Rough night, Jace?" Miss Gloria asked, already sliding a whiskey neat in front of him. "Something like that," he muttered, rubbing the back of his neck before taking a sip. Kendra raised an eyebrow. "You know everybody in here, huh?" Miss Gloria chuckled. "Only the ones who come in to drink their troubles away instead of talking to a therapist." She nodded toward the TV above the bar, where a basketball game was playing. "Now, let's see. Kendra. Meet Jace. Jace. Meet Kendra. Y'all got more in common than you think." Jace turned his head slightly toward Kendra, his lips twitching into a smirk. "That right?" Kendra shrugged. "Depends on what she means." "You like basketball?" he asked, nodding at the screen. She snorted. "I like sports in general. Played a little myself." Jace gave her a once-over, not in a way that made her feel uncomfortable, just curious. "Basketball? Football?" She took a sip of her beer, enjoying the way his brows lifted in surprise. "Flag football? Full contact." Jace let out a low whistle and shook his head. "Now, that's something I didn't see coming." Miss Gloria laughed as she wiped down the counter. "See? Told you." Kendra narrowed her eyes at the bartender. "Told him what?" Miss Gloria waved a hand. "Oh, nothing. Just that y'all both work too damn hard, both act like you don't have time for fun, and both ended up here on the same night for the first time ever. Coincidence? I think not." Jace chuckled, shaking his head. "She always like this?" Kendra sighed. "Worse." Miss Gloria ignored them, already moving toward the kitchen. "I'm making y'all some cheeseburgers and fries. Don't argue, just eat and talk." Jace turned toward Kendra with an amused smile. "Guess that means I get to know you better whether you like it or not." Kendra tilted her head. "And what if I don't like it?" "Then you'll have to suffer through a damn good burger with a stranger," he teased. She laughed, and it felt good. Easy, even. For the next hour, they talked. Nothing deep, nothing heavy. He told her about his job working security for a high-rise downtown, how he ended up in the city after growing up in Atlanta. She told him about training clients at the gym, about her son, about how football had been her escape when things got tough. He listened, not just nodding and waiting for his turn to talk, but really listening. She noticed the way his eyes stayed focused, the way he asked thoughtful questions. When she finally paused, shaking her head in mild disbelief, Jace raised an eyebrow. "What?" She huffed a little laugh. "Just surprised you actually pay attention." He smirked. "What kind of men you been talking to that don't?" She rolled her eyes. Exactly. He grinned. Well, I'm full of surprises, Kendra. She liked the way her name sounded coming from him. Warm, familiar, like he'd said it before even though she knew he hadn't. As the night wore on and the bar emptied out, Jace slid off his stool and walked over to the old-school jukebox in the corner. A moment later, a slow, familiar R&B song started playing through the speakers. Kendra raised an eyebrow. You picking slow jams at a bar? Jace extended a hand. You trust me? She hesitated, but only for a second before placing her hand in his. He pulled her up, guiding her to the open space near the jukebox, and before she knew it, they were swaying to the music. It had been a long time since she danced like this, slow, easy, no rush to get anywhere. She wasn't sure if it was the music, the warmth of his hand on her waist, or just the way the moment felt. Right. Jace looked down at her, his expression softer now, his voice quiet but sure. This feels like the beginning of something beautiful. Kendra swallowed, her heart doing something strange in her chest. She could argue, tell him they had just met, tell him she wasn't looking for anything serious. But instead, she just nodded. Yeah, she murmured. It kinda does. If you'd like me to add chapter 2, comment below. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more.